They tried to sabotage my career, without realizing I was the one signing their paychecks. Stick around, because what started as betrayal turned into the ultimate power move. And if you're into stories of quiet revenge and unstoppable success, hit that subscribe button. Money doesn't buy peace, but it can buy the kind of revenge that makes silence golden. I learned that 3 weeks ago, when my own family tried to sabotage my career, not knowing they were aiming at the CEO of their own employer. I'm Ava Lin, though most of the corporate world knows me as A. Lin, deliberately vague. Officially, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Skyverra Labs, a climate tech firm based in Austin, Texas. What my family didn't know? As of this spring, I quietly became Skyverra's majority shareholder, using a multi-layered investment arm I'd started back in my early 20s. It all started 16 years ago. I was a first-gen college kid, coding late nights in a cramped NYU dorm while double minoring in environmental science and computer engineering. Meanwhile, my older sister Jasmine dropped out of business school and bounced from one network marketing scheme to another. "She's just trying to find her path," my dad would say. "You've always been the stable one." Stable didn't mean supported. I waited tables, built early software prototypes from scratch, and pitched in underground startup meetups no one took seriously. Jasmine? She went backpacking in Bali to reset her mindset. But I stayed quiet, focused. I knew where I was headed. By 32, I'd launched and sold 3 green tech startups, each one under a different LLC. I stayed off the radar, filtered earnings through trusts, and built Skyverra from the shadows. Why all the secrecy? Because my family never believed in me, only in appearances. They called my work cute and bragged about Jasmine's new gig selling SaaS solutions she barely understood. So I let them think I was struggling, that I needed them. Let's just say, that illusion didn't last much longer. Meanwhile, I was executing my masterstroke, a stealth acquisition of Skyverra Labs, the company I'd quietly worked at for just over 14 months. The firm was undervalued, but loaded with untapped potential. Through a careful weave of holding companies, blind trusts, and offshore entities, I gained controlling interest without a single name linking back to me. So when the board promoted me to Chief Innovation Officer, they thought they were appointing a brilliant but obedient strategist. They had no idea they were handing the title to their new owner. Jasmine's reaction? Oh, it was delicious. "Wow, must be nice to catch a lucky break," she smirked at Sunday dinner. "Just don't let it go to your head. Running a company isn't like building little science apps in your apartment." Dad gave a tight smile. Mom, never missing a beat, added, "Maybe Jasmine can give you some pointers. She's led sales teams for 3 companies now." I nodded, sipping my tea. "I'll definitely consider it," I replied with a smile. What they didn't know? That acquisition agreement was already sitting in my encrypted home safe. But Jasmine couldn't stand being eclipsed. She'd spent years being the spotlight child, charismatic, confident, the one with the real job. I was the quiet one with too many degrees and too little visibility. At first, she just showed up at Skyverra for lunch with department heads, masking her visits as sisterly support. I watched from my office as she laughed with senior staff, casually suggesting I was under a lot of pressure and still learning the ropes. Then came the anonymous reports. HR flagged complaints questioning my qualifications, alleged fake credentials, and mysteriously missing coursework. It was all fiction, easily dismissed, but the intent was loud and clear. "I'm only looking out for you," Jasmine purred when I confronted her. "You know how it is, these companies love promoting women fast, quotas and all." She leaned in as if sharing a secret. "I'd hate to see you fall apart in front of everyone." I let her keep going, curious just how far she'd push. That answer came yesterday, hand-delivered to the board. A sleek, damning folder filled with forged evidence, bank records, emails, false timelines, claims of embezzlement, insider trading. They'd called for an emergency board meeting on Monday. Jasmine must have heard something from her sales team grapevine, because at dinner last night she was practically glowing. "The board wants me present tomorrow," she said, barely containing her smugness. "Sounds like there's going to be a big shakeup at the top." Mom clapped her hands. Dad raised a glass. Neither asked why I wasn't invited to this mysterious meeting about my own job. But what they didn't know? I had spent the entire night putting together a dossier of my own, documenting every manipulation, every whisper campaign, every forged detail Jasmine had tried to weaponize against me. And this time, I was also including something even more powerful: the full ownership breakdown of Skyverra Labs. Tomorrow, they'd find out who actually runs the company. If you think Jasmine's about to get away with it, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next changes everything. I should feel betrayed, hurt, maybe even heartbroken, knowing my own sister tried to destroy my career, and my parents, as always, couldn't see past her charm. But honestly, I felt calm. Sitting in my office, surrounded by color-coded evidence, fake transactions, altered screenshots, whispered HR rumors, I knew this moment was years in the making. Jasmine's little coup attempt didn't break me. It gave me the stage I'd never been offered, a rare, perfect opportunity to expose her lies and rewrite the narrative that had followed me my whole life. The board meeting was set for 9:00 a.m. in sharp. They thought I'd be the one on trial. But they forgot something. I'm the one who wrote the rules. I arrived at Skyverra at 7:45 a.m., coffee in hand, watching the final pieces slide into place. At 8:45, Jasmine swept into the lobby in her sharpest power suit, flanked by our parents, smiling like it was a coronation. "Is the board ready for us?" she asked the front desk, radiating victory. From my second-floor office, I watched the three of them being ushered toward the executive wing. The directors followed, stone-faced, exactly as briefed. Every one of them had received my midnight message. At exactly 9:00, I stood, straightened my jacket, and stepped into the hallway. The moment had arrived. If you've ever been underestimated, outmaneuvered, or forced to play small for the sake of peace, don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button, because the real power move, it's only just beginning. Time to begin. Elias Romero, our board chair, was mid-sentence when I stepped through the door. "These allegations against Miss Lin are extremely serious." "Apologies for the delay," I said cheerfully, slipping into my seat at the head of the table. Jasmine's head snapped up, confusion cutting through her smug expression like static. "Ava, this is a closed session," she hissed. "You weren't invited." I clasped my hands and smiled. "Actually, I invited myself. You see, it's rather difficult to conduct a board meeting without the owner of the company, don't you think?" The silence was stunning. Jasmine's face drained of color. Mom blinked rapidly like she'd misheard. Dad froze, jaw clenched, as if trying to swallow a laugh that never came. "What are you even talking about?" Jasmine spat. "Skyverra's owned by shareholders." "It was," I said, turning to my assistant Mina, who stepped forward with a sleek leather portfolio in hand. "Skyverra Labs was publicly traded," I continued, "until 2 months ago when it was quietly acquired by Verdant Core Holdings. Care to guess who owns that?" Gasps. Pages turned. Directors' eyes widened as the documents reached their hands. Some had whispered about the buyout, wondered who was behind the silent trust with enough capital to take the company private. Now they knew? "This is a joke," Jasmine stammered. "You couldn't possibly have pulled that off. You're just a coder? Just the quiet one? Yeah, I've heard it all before," I said with a practiced smile. "And you've said it enough times." I turned to Mina. "Would you mind?" She tapped her tablet. The room filled with Jasmine's voice, calm and cutting on a series of audio clips. "She's not cut out for real leadership," Jasmine whispered in one. "She's smart, but she crumbles under pressure. The board will see that soon enough." Another recording crackled to life. "Honestly, she's only in that role because of diversity quotas, if we're being real." The temperature in the room dropped. No one moved. And just like that, the narrative began to unravel, for her, not for me. "Have you noticed any irregularities in her department's finances? Might be worth a closer look." Each whisper, every strategic manipulation, every planted doubt, now playing back in surround sound like a perfectly orchestrated downfall, only not mine. Jasmine was visibly sinking into her chair, her confident posture unraveling as the recordings echoed through the boardroom. Her face, once smug, had turned pale. The directors sat still, their expressions unreadable. "And then there's this," I said, holding up a thick envelope, the same one she'd anonymously sent to the board. Inside, falsified spreadsheets, forged emails, a fabricated case built on desperation. Attempted character defamation, falsified misconduct, intentional sabotage of executive leadership, I said evenly. "Did you really think no one would verify a single claim before acting?" I was protecting the company," Jasmine stammered, voice cracking. "You're not qualified. You've always been the quiet one, the background character. You're not the one who deserves to win," I finished softly. "No, Jasmine, I'm the one who earned the right to lead. And now, I'm the one exposing you for manipulating internal perception, compromising board integrity, and risking this company's future." Mom finally spoke, her voice fragile. "Surely, you're not going to destroy your own sister's life over this? Like she didn't try to destroy mine?" I turned to face her. "Like you didn't show up expecting to watch me fall?" Dad raised a hand halfway. "We were just here to support Jasmine." "No," I said, locking eyes with him. "You were doing what you've always done, betting on the wrong daughter." I turned back to the board, standing tall. "I apologize for the dramatic nature of this meeting," I said, letting calm control my voice. "But I needed everyone to fully grasp what's at stake. Ms. Jasmine Lin has breached ethical and legal boundaries in her effort to remove me from my position." I paused, letting the words settle. "She didn't just come after me, she endangered this company's reputation and regulatory standing." Elias Romero cleared his throat. "Miss Lin, what would you like the board to do?" I sat again, folding my hands neatly. "First, I request that the board formally dismiss all allegations against me, based on verified evidence and internal review. Second, I move for immediate disciplinary action against Miss Lin for misconduct. I also request that a formal letter be sent to Jasmine's employer," I said evenly, "detailing her misconduct, complete with audio files, fabricated evidence, and her attempts at corporate sabotage. Her actions should follow her professionally." "You can't," Jasmine gasped, her voice thin and shaking. "You'll destroy my career." "Like you tried to destroy mine?" I asked, voice calm, yet razor sharp. "The difference is I have proof, real documents, real recordings. You had forged spreadsheets and hope." I turned back to the board. "Finally, I request that Jasmine Lin and both of our parents be permanently banned from Skyverra Labs property. Any contact with staff or interference with company operations will result in immediate legal escalation." "Ava, please," Mom cried out, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "We're family." I gave a quiet, bitter laugh. "Family celebrates your wins. Family lifts you when you're low. Family doesn't try to erase your life's work out of jealousy." I slid one final folder across the polished conference table. "This," I said, "is the acquisition agreement for my first climate tech startup. I sold it for $50 million, 0 cents, when I was 27. The second? $180 million, 0 cents, 2 years later." I looked at Dad. "I could have bought that country club membership you always wanted. Could have paid for all those lavish vacations you handed Jasmine like gold stars. But I didn't." Aha. They stared at the pages, stunned, watching the numbers crumble, every story they told themselves about who I was. "I stayed quiet," I said, "because I wanted to see who'd stand beside me when they thought I had nothing." I glanced at Jasmine. "You all failed." She looked pale. "You're ending my career," she whispered. "No," I replied. "You ended it the moment you tried to sabotage mine. The only difference is you actually did the things you're being accused of." I gathered my folders and stood. "This meeting is officially adjourned," I said, nodding to Elias. "Please ensure the record is secured." Then I turned to them. "Jasmine? Mom? Dad? Security will escort you out." "Wait," Jasmine called, her voice breaking as I reached the door. "Please, I was jealous. I couldn't stand that you were finally winning." Her voice trembled. "We can fix this, can't we? We're still family." I turned back one final time. Do you know the difference between us, Jasmine? She looked up, her eyes glassy, the last remnants of pride dissolving. When you thought I was struggling, you pushed me even lower. When I was thriving, I stayed quiet, just so you wouldn't feel small. I exhaled. That's the difference between real success and the game you've been playing. The weeks that followed were revealing. Jasmine was swiftly let go. Her employer wasted no time once they reviewed the audio clips and documented proof. Word of my ownership at Skyverra Labs spread beyond our boardroom, and suddenly the same social circles that once worshipped my sister began whispering my name instead. My parents left teary voicemails. Jasmine sent handwritten letters. Her therapist even emailed, assuring me she was taking accountability. I archived them all. 3 months later, I was wrapping up a late strategy session when Mina buzzed in. There's someone here, says it's personal. It was Jasmine, but not the polished, camera-ready Jasmine I'd always known. She looked smaller, worn, her designer wardrobe replaced by a plain blouse and jeans. No glitzy jewelry, no performative confidence. I'm not staying, she said, holding up a hand. I just needed to say something. She stepped forward and placed a manila envelope on my desk. This has everything, old passwords, contacts, everything I used while trying to sabotage you. I'm also sending statements to the board and my former company. No spin, no excuses. I stayed silent. Why now? I asked at last. Because you were right, she said softly. I wasn't building anything, you were, and I hated you for it. She turned to leave, paused at the door. I'm starting over. New startup. Entry level, no fake titles this time. I don't expect anything from you. But letting me fall? That taught me more than all the years Mom and Dad spent lifting me up. She reached for the door handle. Jasmine, I said gently. She turned back, just for a moment, hope flickering in her eyes. Send me your resume in a year, I said gently. Not for leadership, I added. But if you're serious about earning your place the right way, we're always looking for people willing to start from the ground up. A single tear traced its way down Jasmine's cheek. She nodded. No excuses, no defenses, just a quiet acknowledgement. Then she turned and left without another word. 6 months later, Skyverra Labs has surpassed even my most ambitious projections. We're developing next-generation climate solutions, expanding into 3 new states, and creating sustainable jobs across the Southwest. It's real, it's lasting, it's mine. Mom and Dad still message occasionally, usually when they want something, or when they're name-dropping their visionary daughter at social events they once hoped I'd stay out of. I keep it civil, but distant. The validation I once craved so deeply? I've outgrown it. The corner office they said I'd never earn overlooks the Austin skyline. Some nights, I sit by the window as the sun sinks behind the hills, thinking about family, ambition, and the unexpected gift of being overlooked. Last week I received a holiday card. No plea, no guilt. Just a quiet note from Jasmine. You didn't succeed because of us, but in spite of us. I'm finally learning how to build for real. Maybe that's the truest form of revenge. Not loud, not cruel, but earned. Undeniable. Thank you for listening, for seeing me when those closest to me couldn't. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the underestimated one, the one who stayed quiet, worked hard, and waited for your moment? What would you have done in my place? Would you have spoken up, stayed silent, walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let this space be more than a story. Let it be a reminder that resilience doesn't need an audience. It just needs a purpose. Like, share, and subscribe, not just to follow my next chapter, but to honor yours. Because if I've learned anything, it's this. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about finally proving to yourself that you were always right to believe. So, what's your story? I'm listening, and I hope the world is too.